What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It's time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych, ready to talk some Daredevil, Born Again, and to help me break it down, as per usual, as always, I got my good friend and co-host, Damon Gray. How you doing, Damon?
You started off this show by straight up laughing at my incorrect theories. I logged on, I was smiling after a great episode, and you just went, ha, you're wrong. Okay.
I did, but I just called you a great friend.
It's true.
I kind of thought that would make
this
up
is all
for it.
accurate information.
Joining us to help us break down tonight's episode of Daredevil, many-time returnee here on the podcast, co-host of the Direct Pod, we got Matt Remke. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing fantastic, TJ. Thank you so much for having me on today. At the end of the day, all we need is friends. And I think that's the important lesson we're getting from this show. Is all you need is friends, because otherwise everything's a mess. And you're always angry about something, just like Matt Murdock. I'm excited to talk about it.
Pushing down the trauma, waiting for it to boil over.
Yeah.
Just like the wonderful conversation will boil. I don't know where I was going with that, but joining us as well, first time on the podcast, co-host of the Love in the Time of Hydra Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. rewatch podcast, Tony Pauletto. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm really happy to be here. I thought you were about to use tamping down your trauma as a segue to mention my name. I thought that was going to go right into it, and I was kind of like, "Oh, I could play off of this," but then you veered.
I know you well enough to, I'd say, call you a friend, and we really get along. But I don't know about your traumas enough to like allude to them during the show. So
they're not Matt Murdock traumas, I'll tell you that. Like they're I think they're all pretty mild by comparison. But yeah, I am really excited to be here. It's obviously my first time here, and it's nice to meet you guys. But also, it was my first time hearing your bitching intro music. I didn't know it bumped. It was really fun.
Shout out to our man Zen with Listen 3000, and of course us, the Agents of Fandom, as well, for creating that wonderful, wonderful intro music. We don't give him props enough for doing that because it does go really, really hard. So shout out to Zen. Shout out to the Listen 3000 podcast. Before we talk Daredevil, I want to let the live viewers kind of, funnel in, give everybody a chance to talk about the episode. I will say, for the chat, if you haven't watched Daredevil Born Again yet,
why are
probably
you
not the safest place in chat. What are you even doing here? So I saw we got someone in chat asking if spoilers are allowed, and let's go full spoilers in the chat. They are allowed. But while we're letting people funnel in, join the live show, I want to have an edition of Whatcha Watchin', because we're not having 3 live shows a week right now like we had been in the past. But guess what? We are this week, actually. Daredevil Born Again on Tuesday. Wednesday, early in the morning, we're going to be doing a live show for the Nintendo Direct, the announcement of the Nintendo Switch 2. And then on Friday, we will be breaking down all the announcements from CinemaCon. So we will have 3 live shows this week. We'll be back to it soon because we got The Last of Us in 2 weeks. We got Andor in 3 weeks. And Comic Corner, Damon, I know. I'm talking about specifically this show. Damon, this show specifically. I know the Comic Corner counts. I'm not skipping you completely. I was talking about this version. So smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these great shows we got coming. But what I was kind of getting at is that we haven't had as many shows recently, so I don't know what you've been watching, Damon, what you've been reading. I know a little bit of that because I watch the Comic Corner live every Thursday. What have you been watching? What have you been reading? What have you been playing?
Oh man, been reading a lot of Absolute and Ultimate Comics, because that's the best thing from the comic shop right now, y'all. They've been fantastic. If you've been looking for something a little different from the Marvel and DC side, but also a little bit of something the same, that's the place to go. That's the place to go. I, honest to God, really haven't been watching that much of television or movies. I've just been kind of reading, been coming home, been going to bed, been going to shows, going to bed. It's been great.
Are we eating, David?
Sometimes.
All right.
We're gonna
Question.
go
Check
for it.
on that.
I have been really slacking when it comes to movies, but I've been watching a lot of television recently. I have seen some of season 2 of The Last of Us. Can't tell you how I feel about it. I'm going to start watching Andor season 2 right away. Won't be able to tell you how I feel about it for a while, but when I'm excited to tell you about it, we got some interviews coming for that soon as well. I've been watching a lot of Mythic Quest. I've been planning on starting the studio for a while, but I want to wait for Ava to watch that one with me. It's the new Seth Rogen show on Disney Plus. On Apple TV. And I've been waiting to watch that, but just kind of, I've had a lot of time, just me and the baby hanging out recently. So we've been crushing Mythic Quest. Really, really enjoyed that show on Apple TV Plus. Comedy, silly. If you're into a comedy about video games, it's a fun one to check out. Made it all the way through Reacher. I'm all caught up on White Lotus with one episode to go. And that's been, for the most part, what I've been watching. I like to say Reacher and the White Lotus are two completely opposite shows to me, where Reacher has like this really, really good overarching story for the season. And the dialogue is so silly, corny, and ridiculous. Whereas the White Lotus, for me, the story kind of sucks. Every season, it's borderline non-existent in my perspective. It's just like a whole bunch of chaos, but each individual performance with the lines being delivered are incredible. So like two kind of opposite shows. I was binging at once, finished them near around the same time. Matt Remke, what you been watching?
All right. Well, I've been dying to get to this point because I have this thing I do in my life, and I do it all the time, and I hate myself for doing it every time I do it. And I did it most recently with Chapel Roan, where something is the craze. Something is, everything everybody is talking about. Sorry. Top of the zeitgeist, number one thing in the world. Chapel Roan was that, last half of last year, all you can hear about was Chapel Roan, whatever it was. A month ago, I got into this Chapel Roan chick. Guys, she makes fantastic music. Why is nobody talking about this? You know what I mean? And I became obsessed. And I do that all the time with so many things. This White Lotus show is a trip. I haven't seen a second of the first 2 seasons. Have no idea what this show's about. We pop on episode 1. I can't get enough. This is season 3. I love every second of it. It's the closest I'm going to get to reality TV, and I love that about it. You mentioned the performances, legitimately incredible. Like it's Game of Thrones level of falling in love with people you hate, because that's all this show is. It's Seinfeld. It's terrible people on screen together. I am obsessed with it. I do not care about your thoughts about the story. I do not care about any cohesiveness. This is junk food, and it's like pristine junk, like European junk food. You know what I mean? That high class stuff. And I love it so much. It's all I want to talk about nowadays. And I've become the meme. All I want to do is talk about White Lotus.
Tony, how about you? What you been watching?
I wish
I don't disagree with you, Matt. I threw it to Tony, and then I realized I actually wanted to add something to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sitting there watching it, and it reminds me of just like a really catchy song that's always stuck in my head. I can never get out of my head, and I don't even like it. It's not even like I think this is good music,
Sure.
But I still can't stop listening, and I still can't stop watching. That's how I feel about White Lotus. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Why am I watching this?
It's top 40.
Stop.
It's top 40, but it's really good top 40, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Tony, what you been watching?
Honestly, I'm not watching a lot of shows at the moment. I'm catching up on some stuff I needed to see. Jamie and I are going to finish Shogun later today. Finally watching that. And I just watched that show, the Dropout, about Elizabeth Holmes and her bullshit medical product. That was really cool. But movies wise, I've been on a classic kung fu kick. That's what I've been doing, and this is something that I kind of get into every so often, where over the course of like a week or 2 weeks, I'll watch like 7 or 8 like Shaw Brothers martial arts films, and it's like comfort food for me. And I've actually scheduled a tattoo appointment for June. I'm getting like a kung fu mask tattooed on my arm. I'm really excited about. So that's been my jam.
We got the chat excited to have Tony here. just as we are here on the show. I just, as soon as you said, like, I do this kick every once in a while, you know, I got my martial arts movies. I pictured you as Zach Cherry sitting on the bus in Shang-Chi of like, you know, I actually did martial arts when I was a kid myself, so I'm going to try and review this fight they got going on.
I did martial arts as a youth.
You're now going to be
me.
qualified to judge Muse's Taekwondo skills in this episode.
Sure.
Yeah. I thought last episode, I'm sure you guys talked about it. I mean, Daredevil like fucking took a run at him from the subway, and it was, I mean, I just thought it was over. I mean, he laid into Muse in such a way that I was like, fight finished. But then he kind of popped back and had some moves, and I'm glad we got some substance, some explanation to that. That's pretty cool. That was a good fight in the office there. I liked it a lot.
Couldn't agree more, and we will fully dive into it shortly. All we ask that you smash the like button if you're watching us on YouTube. Follow the Agents of Fandom on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter. Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Like I mentioned, this week we got 3 more live shows after today. Nintendo Direct live breakdown on Wednesday, the Comic Corner on Thursday, and our CinemaCon breakdown on Friday. 2 weeks we got The Last of Us. 3 weeks we have Andor Season 2 interviews incoming. Matt Remke, what did you thought about Daredevil as a whole so far? We really haven't gotten a chance to talk about it. What do you think about Daredevil Born Again? Does it stack up to the original for you? How are you liking it?
Yeah, so my journey with the original, which I feel like is kind of the initial conversation, right? When you go into talking about Born Again, did you watch it? Did you not watch it? When did you watch it? I think is a big one, because we had that big gap in between when it was coming out live and when it was resurrected. Shout out the Save Daredevil crew, because boy, are you guys winning quite a bit. Adam Barnhart, shout out. But I think I am one of those people who did not watch it while it was coming out, missed it somehow. Not really sure what happened. Just didn't catch Daredevil. But in between, I've seen it all and have fallen in love with it. Similar to the Chapel Roan thing, similar to this White Lotus thing. I became my personality. I love this show. Going into it, I'd only ever watched it in binge. You know what I mean? I never had a weekly experience with Daredevil, which is a brand new thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about, because, man, this show is very much cliffhanger heavy, and in a good way. And it's set up episodically in a very intentional way that you don't see in a lot of whiz-bang TV nowadays. But this show has been tops at its best and pretty damn great at its worst. And I think that's definitely the frequency I love the most out of these shows. And this show has proven so many different things to me that we can dive into in and out. There's been 6 episodes before this one. But the biggest thing for me is that no matter where other elements of the show lie, whether it's the plot, whether it's the courtroom episode or the bank heist episode or the Fisk and Matt episode, whatever, we've gotten a lot of different types of episodes so far this season. The number one constant is Charlie Cox, and the number one constant is Matt Murdock. He brings an energy to this show that just, I'm obsessed with everything he's doing. Every time he's on screen, every person he talks to, he creates this new incredible dynamic that we somehow never saw coming, but also feels exactly right. Whatever that juice he has is that makes this happen. Like, it's Downey-like. And that's something I'm realizing over this season, is that this is a really great show. It's really well written. It's interesting as hell. It's putting pedal to the metal on everything that we wanted out of the TVMA rating, right? But everything revolves around Charlie Cox just owning this character in a Mount Rushmore type way. And yeah, I'm loving this show so far. And I'm excited to talk about this episode, because it's definitely a different type of episode, I think, for this season.
2 episodes to go. I have thought it's been just truly wonderful so far, on par with the original. Tony, what have been your thoughts on the first 7 episodes? Did you see the original? When did you watch it? And how do you like the new one?
I watched the first 2 seasons of Daredevil as they came out, along with, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and all that stuff. But for whatever reason, I think I got a little overwhelmed with it. I did not watch season 3 until this show was about to come out. Jamie, my girlfriend and co-host of our podcast, her and I binged Daredevil season 3 from Netflix, right up to, literally walked us right up to the door of the new show, which I'm really glad I did, because I would not have known about Bullseye, and I would not have had the emotional trajectory I think that you come off of when you leave that that show. So my thoughts on the season, I want to echo Matt about like just how on Charlie Cox is. Like everything he says and does is just, it's just so rich, and he's kind of knocking it out of the park every time. And it makes sense. I mean, he's had this character, you know, in his bones for so long. And, you know, same for D'Onofrio, who I think is exquisite. But what's weird to me about it is these, Matt, you were talking about how, you know, the different types of episodes, and I'm not always vibing with that. Like sometimes the type of episode that I'm, you know, like I really like the bank episode a lot as a standalone, but it felt, it wasn't pushing anything forward. It was kind of so standalone that it just, you know, it's a bottle episode. It exists on its own. And then, you know, there's a lot of the legal drama that is not really always clicking with me. I love the stuff with White Tiger. That actor was great, and I loved Rest in Peace. And I liked what that was doing thematically with the show. But then there was like this whole episode revolving partly around this black character who stole some stuff from like a convenience store. And it was like, had some good sentiment in it, but like didn't have any substance for the rest of the show beyond just like, yeah, Matt's a good dude and he fights for people and the justice system is broken, things like that. Maybe that'll play in more, but like right now, digging the show, but it feels a little staggered to me. And I know they shot new episodes and stuff like that. They overhauled it. They stopped production and got back into it. And I feel that like kind of Frankenstein monster thing shows a little bit. Nonetheless, still very much enjoying it. Still excited to see it every week.
If I could just go off that real quick, I mean, that's one of those things where like, that's where the 50-50 comes in, right? Because if the legal drama is what you're into that week, you're going to love that episode. If you're not really into the legal drama, there's not much else in that episode to latch on to, right? And that's the thing about comic book movies is the idea usually is to have something that everybody can latch on to, accessible, digestible, whatever it might be. I wonder if the reason that they've emphasized these more bottle type episodes with the courtroom, with that back and forth, with the negotiation of that guy's sentence episode, essentially the jail episode, I guess, this previous episode of the bank, I wonder if they're trying to catch people up who maybe didn't see the Daredevil Netflix series on who Matt is and like, you know, how this has worked, like a play the hits kind of thing, you know, in case you missed it, here's this awesome character and what he does. I'm not saying like that makes it a better watching experience or not, but I found it interesting as we were talking about how we watched this thing. If anybody hadn't seen the original series, those episodes are probably serving the purpose of getting to know Matt, even though we're all sitting here like, yeah, we know he's a badass. We've seen him do this time and time again. I love seeing it again, but it's not really doing anything else for us as far as the overall plot in a pseudo season 4 of a season.
I'll actually disagree with that because I think
let's fight.
Each one of those moments really pushed Matt to get to where he is now in this episode. At the very beginning of the season, after he gives up being Daredevil for a whole year, it was all about how he's like, I'm letting the legal system, I'm letting the courts, I'm letting the cops do what they need to do to handle this. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not putting my justice onto this. I'm letting the legal system do this, which is why he was so excited, obviously, when Bullseye finally went to prison for life. Mm-hmm. But in the end, as Frank pointed out to him, you know that's not enough. You know that's not enough. And same thing where we talk about the episode where the guy who he was trying to get parole for, not get parole for in the end. It was about the little things and how the courtrooms and the justice system just can't help as much as he wants to. And as he can't get involved as much as he can if he's Daredevil. So each little bit of it, all the way down to the bank heist scene, which is almost a breaking point.
So good.
Which is like, it's literally his breaking point. He's like, I can't help as much as I know I can if I'm not Daredevil.
I think that's fair.
It's a good show, guys. Good show. Complex, deep, layers, onions.
There's a wonderful review of Daredevil Born Again up on agentsfandom.com from our co-owner and former co-host Garrett Blaney, where I think it kind of speaks to what we're talking about right now, where he said season 1 is good, but you can feel how stitched together it is. Having said that, it has all the makings and all the ingredients for season 2 to be the best Daredevil season we've had before. You know, it's like there's all the new added good aspects from the MCU, but you can tell that this has been a made and remade and remade. But having said that, when they got all their ducks in a row, the highs are just as high, if not higher, than everything we've got in the original. So I'm really excited to see what a, you know, non-disjointed, it's been the plan since day one, season 2 looks like, and hopefully season 3 and season 4 and beyond and beyond and beyond of this show. Damon, what were your thoughts on episode 7? Because I was giving you jabs, you know, you had a specific theory that didn't come to fruition in this episode, but not gonna lie, this episode threw me for a loop as well. It threw me off guard, and I'm leading into the final 2 thinking I have no idea what the hell is gonna happen next.
No, I'm absolutely with you with that. I have no idea where the show is going. I do. We kind of do know where this show is going after this, but we kind of thought that the climax of it all would be a big Daredevil Muse fight. And maybe it's still possible, but he did look pretty dead by the end of this episode. Like he was pretty dead. But it's also the Marvel show, and heck, we even resurrected Daredevil at one point. Elektra, who knows who can come back via Marvel Lazarus Pit in 2025. But I was surprised. This episode threw me for a loop, like you said. 3 times in this episode, I was like, oh boy, here we go. And by the way, my big theory was at one point someone was getting blind spotted, which was Daredevil's little mentee in the comics, who is his little vigilante, his little sidekick, and Muse literally blind spot, poked him in the eye. So I kept trying to say, who's Muse gonna blind spot? And I thought it was gonna be Heather. And she got away with it. So good for her. But good episode. Especially because now for these last 2, we can go in a direction. And I think that's exciting.
It's hilarious how I've been giving you so much slack for your Muse theory being wrong. I also had one with I thought Muse was gonna kill Vanessa, and I've just been trying to, you know, skate that one by, pretend like that didn't happen. But my theory didn't come true either. So I guess I shouldn't have been giving you a hard time. But the episode begins as Fisk finds out. You know, he finds out Daredevil's back, and my favorite part of this scene is the fact that he's fucking scared. He's scared, man. Like, we've seen him kind of get angrier and angrier throughout this season, but for the most part, he still felt in control. And this to me felt like the first moment of like, fuck, damn it. This is the one thing that I'm not like fully ready for, because this guy's beaten me twice. Tony, what did you think about episode 7, and lead us into the intro where Fisk, you know, finds out about Matt?
I dug this one. It was grim. Muse is disturbing to watch. The good performance. I don't know that actor's name, but he was awesome. Again, we were talking about kind of the stitched together feeling. We just rescued a woman again from Muse, so it just feels, maybe I feel like there should have been an episode in there between them, some sort of buffer, because we were just here. And yeah, Damon, if he's alive, I don't need to see him get his ass kicked again, like, because I feel like it's been settled, like it's been settled quite severely. But aside from that, I like this. I like that. I like what's going on with Matt emotionally in this episode, because he's obviously chosen to put the mask back on, but he is not happy with himself about that. It is not a return to form in a victorious way. He sees it as a loss, and so he's not at peace with it. Hey, I love. You're right. It was a good point, TJ, about Fisk he's like rambling. He's talking to what's his buddy's name, who's his like right hand, who thinks asymmetrically. Buck. Speaking to Buck. And
just the only British guy of all time named Buck.
Yeah, it's a funny name for him. He's just like, he's just like rambling, just kind of talking off the cuff, and not he's not choosing his words as carefully, you know. And it's like yeah, he's off balance. Just knowing that Daredevil's back throws him off balance, and that's cool. That's powerful.
Very well said, Matt. What did you think about the episode as a whole and the beginning, not only of, Fisk being afraid of finding out Matt's back, but also even in the most trying and difficult times, Matt Murdock always has time to be a slut.
Yes, yes, a very sexy human being, and he likes flexing that muscle that he has. I feel like he charms his way out of talking about things that's going to lead to him being upset about being Daredevil, which I really enjoy. And again, that's one of those things. I'll harp on it. It's one of those things where you need a guy who can do that. You need a Charlie Cox who can pull that off, because so often it doesn't get pulled off. And all the sexy stuff and just everything between him and Heather, romantically, emotionally, roommate wise, a little bit, just like very like just real conversations that obviously not any boyfriend and girlfriend would have, but she was asking legitimate questions and having legitimate responses to them that sometimes we don't see in comic book movies. It's a lot of like, something's really wrong with you. No, it's not. Okay. Like she didn't just take that. Right. And shout out Heather, curly headed queen. I'm married to a curly headed queen myself, and she is just an all-time badass in this episode. And I appreciate that. What I love about this episode, and this is far and away not my favorite episode of the season. You know what I mean? I think like this was definitely a come down from the back-to-back episodes last week that I really enjoyed. I very big opportunity for me going in to not love this as much as I've loved previous episodes, knowing this is the setup to the final two, which historically is paired together for something awesome, right? What I love about what we've talked about here today, though, and it kind of brings in a couple of different points we've made as a group, is that this episode kind of turned it on its head a little bit. Sean Bean's dead. Muse is gone. We don't have what we thought this ending was going to be. A quick movies or sports, TJ, if I may. We're coming off of March Madness. It's like we all thought we knew what the Final Four was going to be, but our brackets are busted. We don't have what we thought was going to happen there at the end. Now it's chaos. Now we don't know what's going to go down. And probably a lot like this year's March Madness, it's going to be the more obvious thing, where it is Frank and Wilson and Matt doing their thing to finish this season off. But I do love that theories are gone, and we have kind of lost the plot as what we saw it being leading into these final two episodes. And this episode moved a few different pieces across the board, set some things up in a different way. A good Gandolfini scene. Some great things with Vanessa. That is, great's a big word, but some stuff with Vanessa to move her in a more interesting position. Fisk just kind of, like you said, Tony, rambling and just kind of talking a lot, which is something he's usually not doing a ton of. And I feel like this episode adjusted the board in a way and then made one big swing to shake it all up. So now we don't know what the next move is going to be. And I'm really excited to see how they take advantage of that coming off of a big midseason. This episode readjust, and now we have 2 episodes to finish the season off and clear up these big points that I think have been the shining point of the season with Fisk and this vigilante crew. What's the name of it? It's very cool. The
Anti-Vigilante Task Force.
That's some comic book ass shit, dude. That's awesome.
Dark line, as
I like that.
I lost my bye, DJ. Like be more on the nose. That was incredible.
The most unsubtle thing you could possibly write onto a script.
I appreciate it,
though, man. It fit. It made sense, And I love that is going to probably be a big focus moving forward. The publicness of taking credit for vigilante stuff, like that's some Wilson Fisk ass moves, man. And I really like how this episode turned the season on its head while setting us up well for a last couple episodes.
Damon, that Fisk taking credit for vigilante stuff. We'll talk about how that all took place towards the end of the episode. But one part I did want to throw your way, because as I was watching it, I'm sitting there thinking, Fisk has this card that he can play at any point and essentially go, hey, Matt Murdock is Daredevil. I can prove it, kind of thing. And I'm sure he could find a way to prove it without much difficulty. I kind of thought that was going to be we could be leaning into a potential reveal of some kind when he found out that Daredevil was back, but he didn't go there.
No, and I feel like Fisk wouldn't go there unless he absolutely had to. He doesn't seem like that type of guy that would do that
Good guy.
because he knows that he can use that to his gain for more than just outing him to stop. He knows he can use that trump card whenever he wants for something bigger, for something grander in that sense. So he's going to hold on to that as long as he can until it's the exact right moment.
Agreed.
I think it's a point of honor too. I mean, they sat down and had breakfast together, and when you know what I mean, like they had that meeting, and if he ever said Matt Murdock is Daredevil, it's an admission of defeat, and he has too much pride. I think he has too much pride to ever use that card.
Man, what are you doing? We had breakfast together. Well, come on. We shared a coffee.
Yeah.
You can't do that to me.
Great point here from Chad as well, as there is still the lingering blackmail about Vanessa and Ray Nadeem from season 3. But that does seem like one of those things with, Vanessa fully engulfed in the criminal lifestyle now, that's maybe not as much of a worry and as much of a concern. But I do think, Tony, it's a lot of what you said of, almost he knows that's cheating and he'll use it. If his, like Damon said, if his back's against the wall and he's got nowhere else to turn, no other cards in his hand, he can use it. But it doesn't feel like he will unless he actually loses. Like he wants to win fairly before he wins unfairly, because he's got a lot of respect for this adversary. And bringing it back to a couple points we talked about earlier about maybe this parts of this season being stitched together, I felt like I did feel it with various dialogue pieces in this episode of like, I wrote down in my notes at the beginning with like to talk about Muse's art, because why is Angela Del Toro referencing all of these faces? What do all of these faces mean? And it ended up just being a lead to, oh my gosh, look, he made a face of made a face of Heather. That's where we're going. But I kind of thought there was going to be more to it of like dialogue from him essentially talking about how like I want to see the faces of my victims when they're at their most scared, and that's what I draw. Like that felt like a creepy ass Muse thing to do, and it felt like we were lacking a little bit on his motivations. Like we basically got he's crazy, and Heather is his muse. She inspired him, but we didn't get a lot of the why. We didn't get a lot of the why behind it. Did you feel like there was a little bit missing from Muse's story, Tony, or did you feel like it was enough in what we got?
It was fast. It was he's not that interesting. I mean, he looks really good and he is scary, but we kind of learn his backstory and then see him get killed in the same episode, so it's not like there's a lot of development there. I am surprised that he's been dispatched, as far as we know. Pretty sure he's dead. But I just thought that, I mean, am I crazy that like that touching the painting was going to show you a face of a human based on the textures of the paint? I don't think that works quite.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
We've seen him do a lot weirder shit, right? I was thinking gross. Just gross. Like he took his glove off for it too. You know what I mean? Like that was nasty, man. That was a whole situation. I mean, we've seen him do weirder stuff though, right?
We've seen him do weirder stuff regarding his senses and like sound,
and touching specifically though.
Yeah, but I was just like, that's her. I'm like, okay.
He's a great artist.
That's how good Muse is.
I was gonna say he nailed it.
He nailed it. The likeness is extraordinary.
To play Silver Lining, it definitely takes away from the Muse character overall. That, like Tony, you said it perfectly. We got his backstory in the same episode that he got killed. Mm-hmm. Like that definitely takes away from him as a total. But for the utility of this episode, hell of a shock factor, I thought. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's dead, guys. 3 in the chest, done. There's no two ways about it. Did not see that coming. And I feel like while it definitely takes away from the Muse overall, it does bring back a little bit of value on the back end as far as shock value and what we've talked about going into the last couple episodes. We are now on our heels, trying to figure out what's going to come next and what's going to be the new climax, because we thought this was going to be it.
I do think, I'll just put this out there. There's a small chance that this isn't the last of Muse.
Interesting.
I do think there's a chance. We've seen weirder things happen in Daredevil, but let's not forget his whole deal with the hand and the weird things the hand does and all the mysticalness you can get out of that. Because if I remember correctly, the directors or the creators or the showrunners, when talking about Muse, they mentioned he had some of Muse's powers.
His powers. That's what I was going to bring up.
Very prevalent. Didn't have much of that other than, I got some Taekwondo kind of action, which is like, all right, cool, whatever.
And a 7-foot reach.
Very long reach.
Lanky.
But one of the things is he is fairly undetectable by Daredevil. Like, that's kind of one of the things he has over him. So if we kind of make him an undead artist without a heartbeat.
That sounds rad.
It's a World War Z situation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, word. I'd go for that.
Yeah.
That's the same theory train I was going. Apparently, all we had to do was have the same theory, and maybe it'll come true, Damon. Maybe it'll come true.
Maybe it'll come true. Maybe.
What did you think of the action sequence from not just the fight, but the confession in the office with the torture straight into the action sequence? Because I thought they did an incredible job of making Muse scary as hell. The slits down the arm of it all, like, just gives you the EBGBs.
A lot of blood.
EBGBs? Heebie-jeebies, I think.
Heebie-jeebies.
Juju
Yeah.
bees, TJ. Juju bees.
Juju-bees, guys.
EBGBs. Anyways, I thought they did a really great job of making him scary as hell. I thought the performance from the Heather Glenn actor, apologies, I don't remember the name right now, was really awesome.
It's in chat.
And Matt coming in with the fight sequence was fun as hell. And I will say one small little tidbit that I'm noticing. It's not a critique of the action as much as it is a comment on the character. I still think Matt's holding back a little. I still think there's a little bit of punch pulling going on.
I think that makes sense considering this show started with him throwing a dude off a building. Yeah. Like he's genuinely afraid of what he's capable of. So yeah, I mean, even when I think my favorite fight from this show, as brief as it was him beating up those cops in that little apartment and breaking that guy's arm in 3 places. That was like, and he was really, really nasty in there. I think that's a good point, TJ. I think he might be holding back.
That was, I think, my favorite one as well. Matt, what did you think of the first confession scene leading into the fight sequence?
This is what the Daredevil series as a whole does best, introducing villains. And obviously this wasn't like our true introduction of Muse. We had already seen what he can do in the past. The number 60 is big with Muse, just because like that's a lot of people, guys. Like that's a whole bunch of people. 60 for a serial killer. Daredevil show introduces characters, specifically antagonists, in the best way. The Wilson Fisk introduction in season 1 is unparalleled. You know what I mean? It's the jaws of it all. We don't even see him, but we know how scary he is. The Punisher one's my favorite, straight out of the Spider-Man cartoon, the one-man militia or whatever it was. And then Bullseye, much more subtle, but really fun to see Bullseye through the car mirror doing his thing. This was just another one, but this was the therapy version of it. And you could just see how messed up this guy is. And we have seen the patient fall in love with the therapist in a murdery kind of way a dozen times over. There's a whole episode on New Girl about it. And I think that this was something that we haven't, what's the word? We've seen this before, but this was done as good as we've seen it before, at least, you know, to some respect. It's a Vujade. I've seen this before. But I think that the speech was great. The writing was great. Both performances on each side were fantastic. The facial expressions from both actors, just fear and also just kind of excited the Muse was to kind of get this off his chest. The bloody nose, I thought, was such a great aspect of it all. I thought like that, what a perfect little thing to add in there. The lighting with that foggy, bright light coming out the back, shout out Foggy, and just giving him this aura about him while he's like just letting it all out. And a successful therapy session, by the way. You know what I mean? He really got to the root of it.
She's really good at her job.
What kind of therapist are you?
They both are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of therapist are you? A really good one. But I think all of that, and then you mix in the little poppy moment of when we cut back and he's in full costume. It could have been cheesy. but that's an imposing figure sitting across. And I thought that was a really cool moment to have her wake up with him in full Muse, just because, like, for whatever reason, the tone of the scene wasn't changed. The scenery, it was the exact same scene, but now we're on a different side of it, and the game is completely changed.
Damon, as a horror fan, a gore fan, did it live up to your expectations? Even though it came earlier than we expected, did the big Muse stuff live up to your Muse expectations?
They took it about as much as I expected them to. There's one comic panel in particular I didn't think they were going to do because it was too disgusting for like this show to type of tackle, and that's essentially like using bodies as a sculpt, like a statue sculptor shape method. It was gross. It was like actually disgusting. But they did take it to like cutting arms. Like that's pretty far for the MCU. I don't think they've ever like got like that intimate with like a scene like that before. So they took it pretty far. And then of course, like having the big white tarp where Muse is like his blood painted all over on the canvas. Very symbolic.
Art.
But so I think they did pretty well for Muse as a whole. I think we need to remember this for like expectations with Muse. If I remember correctly, like in Charles Soule's run, he's in like maybe 10 total issues. He's not around very much. He's in for one arc at the very beginning to introduce him, deals with this thing with Blind Spot, runs off, comes back later, and then kills himself by just walking to a pit of fire like a maniac, because he is a maniac. So there really isn't like too much to his character in the books. So I think they did a pretty decent job. I'm glad that they let him talk, because he does talk in the comics. He's not like a silent serial killer. He's a little snarky, sassy in a way, but that's just because he's like, these people were nothing before me. I made their lives with meaning by making them into immortal art type of thing, which they didn't really get. They didn't really get into that side. They just kind of like made his whole Muse be Heather.
Oh, I got it again.
Tony, we teased his demise was not how any of us expected it to come. And Heather essentially gives him 2 to the head, 3 to the chest, like just absolutely unloads the clip as soon as she is back up and conscious, and then immediately passes back out. I found it. What did you think of the twist? And also, I find it so relatable how Matt is able to go give not anything about the murder, Damon, how Matt is able to give Heather so much grace and there's no judgment. You had to do it. You had no choice. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Whereas he doesn't, and it's like, I have ruined my life. It's over. I'm never going back. He treats himself a lot more harshly than I think he treats other people.
Well, he's more capable than anybody else, so it's his responsibility to incapacitate because he can, So, but I was surprised by her shooting him. I knew Muse was. I knew this as soon as that fight broke out. I was like, one thing I said, this show has not earned the right to kill Heather in this scene. I was like, I'm gonna be upset if it does that. I'm glad it didn't do that. Daredevil fight, I knew Muse was out because we just saw him beat him up and Muse got away. I knew we weren't going to do that again. But yeah, seeing Heather be the one to kill him was really cool. And I like that I like that for her. I like that for Matt. I think that this is in a dark way brought them closer together. So I'm excited to see how the two of them, I don't know if we're going to get like an identity reveal or anything quite like that, but I am excited for what this is going to do with their relationship as the show goes on.
That was one thing I was going to ask next, and I'll throw that to you, Matt. Do you think we get Matt revealing his identity, 1 to Heather, 2 to Kirsten? Because we have that moment with with Cherry and Kirsten in this episode where they're talking about it, and she knows something's up. She wants to know the truth. Do you think we're going to get the reveal? Heather has the line when she's talking to Muse. Anyone who needs to wear a mask is a coward. Yeah. So that kind of opens up on her full thoughts towards potential vigilantes and Matt as Daredevil.
All of this is classic Peter Parker stuff where, his job and his personal life directly interfere with everything that he wants to do as Daredevil, or in this case, doesn't want to have to do as Daredevil. This is classic Captain Stacy being against Spider-Man, while Spider-Man obviously pro Spider-Man. But I think that Kirsten is much less likely. That thread I do think needs to be pulled, just because, bad employee. This Matt guy, you know what I mean? Not around, not doing much. As far as Heather goes, I thought it was going to be in the hospital. I thought we were going to get it tonight. I thought it was going to be when she said, "I know." I don't know if I missed something, but when she said, "I know," I thought that was it. I know that was you. I know you were there. And she even mentions that Daredevil said her name. I thought that was going to be it. I thought that would have been a really awesome moment to do it. I feel like that would have been earned to some respect, to have such an intimate experience with Daredevil and Heather being this incredibly smart, hyper aware, talking to Matt and actually getting real answers out of him friend that he's never had. She figures it out. She's the Zendaya of all this, where she's smart enough to figure it out. I feel like that would have been earned. So I hope so, just because I feel like that could be a really awesome, complex situation between the two of them that I don't think would necessarily ruin this great romance we're building with them. But I do think could further it. It'd be really interesting if Heather knew, I think, and I'd enjoy it, but I'm not 100% sure the utility of that moving forward.
I thought it was going to happen there as well. I thought it was going to be like, Matt, I recognize your voice. I know that was you. And that's kind of what I was expecting to happen there. But Damon, I do think it's very interesting how we're getting Heather probably hottest on his trail.
Sure.
Kirsten is on the trail. She knows something's up. And honestly, I think, and Richard, our friend Rich Nevins just brought it up in chat as well. I thought Angela was going to call him out for it too. I thought Angela was going to figure it out in this episode that he was Daredevil. Do you think his reveal is coming to any of those three this season? Damn.
Angela? Maybe. Angela, maybe. Because I have a feeling what they're going to do with Kirsten is she's going to become the next DA for Fisk. I think they're setting that up. They've mentioned several times her DA work. She's already getting frustrated with Matt in the office. And now that Fisk is probably going to be full on going against vigilantes, I can absolutely see him hiring Kirsten. Oh man, that would be brilliant, actually. That'd be brilliant. So in the comics, Fisk, when he becomes mayor, he doesn't know Matt is Daredevil at the time. He used to know, and now he doesn't. Weird No Way Home type of stuff. And he makes Matt his DA while all this is going on. I don't think they'll do that here, and if they do, I'd be very surprised. But he could, because he knows that Matt's Daredevil, he could intentionally go after Kirsten to go after him. That would be a very Wilson Fisk move.
The suits in that room would be incredible between Fisk and Kirsten. Her power suits are on point.
I really like that idea. I could see this season ending with Kirsten becoming Fisk's new DA, and then next season ending with Matt revealing his identity to her, because he doesn't. There's some case that whether it's against Daredevil or not, he doesn't think he's going to be able to win or get by without Kirsten knowing the truth. She's got him beat, and so that's when the reveal comes later in season 2. I could absolutely see that being the case as well. The other thread that gets opened up in this episode is we've had throughout this, I never remember this dude's character, but Gandolfini's character, the
Daniel.
Daniel.
Can I go on a thing about Daniel?
Yeah, you start. I was just gonna bring up the Daniel and BB stuff.
Damn, Daniel.
Yeah, because that's this whole thing. The second when Gandolfini was cast and we saw a photo of him, and a lot of us immediately thought he was gonna be oh, this is gonna be Wilson Fisk's son.
Richard Fisk, yeah.
He's a Richard. He may not actually be Richard Fisk, obviously, but they are so clearly setting this man up to essentially be the Rose. Like, so clearly. Like, the guy that essentially takes over for Fisk's duties in the underground, in the underworld, to do all his dirty work, because he has that persona. He has the intellect, the ins with the media already. He's already slimy. Like, they're setting this guy up to essentially be that character. And backwards way, when he was cast as Richard, like, we thought he was Richard, like, we kind of got there in the end, maybe, if they go that route, but like, all the ducks are lining up in the row there, because he seems like he's actually smarter than we give him credit for.
I think he's gonna die.
I
I don't think he's gonna get there. I think he's gonna die. I think this is gonna set up for us fearing that poor BB Urich is gonna have the same thing happen to her that happened to her uncle. But nah, it's gonna happen to him instead. That's what I think is gonna happen. What do you? He says it's not a threat, but an opportunity, Matt.
Awesome.
But he's threatening our girl BB.
That was a great scene. Anytime somebody sits on a chair kind of like this and kind of like, talks to you, hey, listen, let's have a chat. I think that it could go either way. I definitely setting up for somebody not being in charge of Fisk crime stuff. Maybe Vanessa doesn't stick around as much as we all hoped, and he steps in a very like last episode wrap up montage. You take over the reins now, and something like that. But my question is, comics. I don't know if there's anything there. What is with this bushwhacker guy? What's his name? Buck
Cashman, aka Bullet.
Yeah, his name's not Buck, dude. That guy's name is not Buck Cashman. That's insane. Bullet. He's a character. He's a guy. What's that then? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't it be Wesley? Him? Why wouldn't it be him is my question. You know what I mean? Because he's obviously much deeper into that type of stuff. I guess there's the political heir to Fisk and then the crime heir to Fisk back to back, kind of in the office together. It was very funny when Fisk was looking out the window over the shoulder of those two in the back, just kind of standing there like, you tell him, no, you tell him. But those two, I think that could be a little bit of a power struggle, I guess. But Gandolfini's definitely playing the political side of it, and he dusted it off real quick. Hey, listen, we're friends, but you owe me one. Like that's primetime political line right there, and he crushed it, I thought, as a character, and the performance. Obviously, we're carrying a lot of his name with it, but he's carrying it back pretty well.
Matt, you're a big fan of Spider-Man the Animated Series, just like I am.
Sure.
When I saw this dude, and I didn't know his name was Buck yet, I thought for sure that was Alistair Smythe.
Sure. Yeah. Oh man, Smythe. What a guy.
Cool. That's where I thought that they were going with this. But Tony, I'll throw this one to you first. And feel free to add to the BB Urich and Daniel situation as well. But this felt like, the iconic, was it New Rockstars, who after the Batman came out, they did the Riddler, does he know? Moment of like, does he know that Batman is Bruce Wayne? That's all I could think of the whole time when Luca gets shot in the head because old Vanessa sends him to Fisk. And he's like, oh, see if Vanessa would like any leftovers. Does he know she sent him? That's what I want to know. What did you think of this ending? Because I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Who's got the upper hand?
That's interesting. I regarding the BB and what's his name?
Gandolfini.
Gandolfini. He's I don't have any predictions with that, but there is a part of me that thinks that just in the way that like in The Godfather 2, after Fredo betrayed Michael, it took like a long time for him to get killed. I think he might still just get killed, like for fucking over Wilson Fisk. Like I think down the line he could be like, "Oh wow, I sure did a good job, hey boss," and it's like, "No, you didn't," and he'll just be gone. So that's like, I don't think there's any air. I'm interested in what you were saying, Damon, about him fitting a type of a comic book character, but I don't think that I don't anticipate that that's going to be his end. Regarding whether or not Vanessa knew that the assassin she sent was going to get murked. My interpretation was that she absolutely did. I think that she knows her husband well enough to know that that punk is not going to be able to do that job. That was her kind of cleaning up a mess. I think that they coordinated this together. I think she said, sweetheart, I'm going to tell him you're alone. Make sure someone's there to shoot him in the head while you're having dinner. I think that that's exactly what it was. I think the fact that they're going to therapy and it's not going great. Does she know that he kept her lover in a cage for, many, many weeks? Like, I don't know, but like, I don't think that she would attempt to betray him secretly like that because he's too smart and capable, basically.
Damon, what do you think? And chat, for what it's worth, chat is 100% on the same page as Tony here. That's how they read it as well. I want to know, and I'll get Matt's opinion after. Did Vanessa try and set Fisk up to die and fail, or did they both team up to kill Luca?
A little bit of both. I'm going with a little bit of both, where she knew this man was going to die. By the way, all my tracksuit mafia boys are just fodder. Poor tracksuits. I mean, this guy, in all due respect, did not deserve to be the leader of the tracksuits. I don't think we got one bro from him in this entire series. So, sir, kindly go rest with the fish in the bay. You are not a tracksuit mafia boss, bro. Get out of here. Get out of here. Bring our boys back from the Hawkeye series. They're real tracksuits. Anyway, I think there's a little bit of both. A little bit of both. Where Vanessa was like, this guy's going to die, but I still want to send a message. I still want to send a little bit of a message. And I think Fisk understands that too. Like, they're both kind of on the same page about it. So I think she still has a little bit of like, she agrees that like things were better when I was in charge. But I can't be stupid about this. I know how things work. And she very clearly knows how things work. She can't just be willy-nilly and be like, I'm just going to kill with Vincent over here. Or Wilson. But a little bit of both.
Cool. So more like an unspoken, like, I'm going to send that guy to my husband. And he's like, she's going to send him over here. Like, yeah.
Kate Bishop is guy, bro. I like that. I'm with
keep Kate Bishop away from this show, please. God, keep her safe. Stay on the West Coast, please.
We already know she's in California with Kamala right now, doing some recruiting.
Stay there.
New York is not safe right now with Daredevil Born Again being filmed because, as we know, every character we don't expect to die and some that we do, gone.
Do not come back until you have the child of the Scarlet Witch with you. I beg.
What a cool sentence.
Matt, what was your take on that situation when it was unfolding? I really like Damon's read of like, well, if he kills him, I'm out of here. I'm out of this relationship and I'm back in charge. If he doesn't, well, the Luca problem's dealt with.
I don't need to win. I need Wilson Fisk to lose, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Rewatched that movie recently. But that whole situation, I think, could go either way. I think here's my take on it. If she did intend for that to work, and this is a failed attempt, and now Wilson's going to go after her because she went after him. If that is the case, this Vanessa character in this season has not been very great. You know what I mean? I feel like she is very much just kind of been standing there, and everything we know about her, we're being told about her through tracksuit mafia guys and Fisk. Like, I think it would, disservice feels like a really big word to use here, so I don't want to use it, but like, I wouldn't love the overall product of the Vanessa character in this season if this is one of those things where this was her power play. This was her attempt, because bad move, bro. And I think that the better, the more interesting, the more complex, the more engaging line would be a coordination of some sort. And that would make a lot more sense given everything going on. And I don't remember who here said it, but it was fixing a problem. You know what I mean? Like that guy needed to go. He was causing problems for everybody in the business, and this is how we got rid of him. Now the question becomes, why go through all the theatrics if that's the end game anyway? You know what I mean? But you know, what are the Fisk family if nothing but, you know, theatric people? And they like doing it in fun, creative ways with Buck Cashman and a silencer. Oh, a silencer. That was fun.
Mhm.
Why a silencer?
They're so damn cool.
They're cool.
There's 2 episodes to go of Daredevil Born Again. What does this, any theories, and what does this season have to do to stick the landing?
I think the end result of this season is Daredevil going to be on the run. All vigilantes going to be on the run. Full vigilante law will be put in that vigilantism in New York is gone. Like, it's illegal, which would be a beautiful tie-in with a certain Spider-Man movie coming out next year with a certain name attached to it as well. Because Brand New Day comes off of technically a little bit of like the Civil War stuff as well. But we could just tie that law in with the Anti-Vigilante Act in New York and throw that in there. So there's some beautiful New York kind of tie-ins and buildups to go in. That to me has to settle it. We need to see Frank again, by the way, like at least in one episode, because we're starting to get these bums out here rocking his stuff. And I need to see him deal with that before the season ends and not just in his special.
There's got to be something setting up that special still. I agree 100%. Yeah. Matt, what about you? Any theories? What does season got to do to stick the landing?
I think obviously we're in a situation where it could go a couple different ways, and multiple ways would make sense, which I think a sign of a good show where 2 episodes left. We're not here thinking, man, there's so many things that need to wrap up. It's more so 2 or 3 things. They could go a couple ways, right? I kind of got a read in this episode that's going to kind of be the opposite of what Damon just said, in that Daredevil came, he kicked ass, he took care of Fisk's problem. That's Fisk's? That can't be right. He took care of the problem. Fisk's. And Fisk, and you can kind of see the light bulb moment in his head there, took credit for it. So while he's presenting anti-vigilante, while he's presenting this task force doing all this great work, in that moment at least, he used what vigilantes did and just took credit for it. Because what's Matt Murdock going to do? What's he going to do? No, I did that. That was me. So I think an interesting spin on what we all expect could be, while he's presenting no vigilantes, he's actually kind of letting them do their thing a little bit. And then the cleanup crew comes in and takes the credit for everything. I think that could be an interesting play, especially in the biggest thing going into these last 2 episodes, and also kind of what plays on 2 episodes of Muse, 2 episodes of White Tiger, a couple bottle episodes here and there. Not only is a season 2 coming, we know it's coming next year. It's coming quickly. So I think that they might have a little bit more patience playing with some of the bigger themes and bigger storylines of like Fisk's overall plan or Matt's overall plan, because they know that not only are we going to continue the story, we don't have to wait very long to get the continuation of it. They can play it more of a part 1, part 2 in the editing room. And I just think it would be really interesting if Fisk kind of put a spin on his anti-vigilante as opposed to embracing it wholeheartedly, doing kind of a mask to it with a different thing behind it. He's wearing the mask now. Now it's all connected.
Tony, what do you want to happen in the final 2 episodes, and what do you think needs to happen for this to be a good conclusion to the series?
Damon, thank you for bringing up Spider-Man and reminding me how Daredevil and Spider-Man are brushing shoulders now, which means we might get to see Kingpin in a Spider-Man world, which I would really, really love. I hadn't thought of it. Had not thought of it. So that's an exciting prospect. What needs to happen is more Frank. I gotta talk about Frank. That's really like that's my dude. Like growing up, I read so much Punisher comics. I don't read comics as much now as I used to. Definitely not as much as you guys, but it's been this really interesting thing over the years to watch. I don't know, like people in the army and cops take that symbol and turn it into something really ugly. Like using his violence as a flag, I think in the real world is gross. And it's always turned me off. It just turns me off in a big way. When I saw that fucking cop with a Punisher tattoo on his thumb with an American flag on it, I was like, let's get into this.
Yeah.
Like, let us talk about the toxicity of this problem. Because like I love that character, but he's messed up. He's wrong, and that doesn't mean I don't enjoy his wrath. It's fiction. I like the fact that the fiction is tying in the perversion of him in reality. I want some sort of fulfillment for his legacy, for him to just in some way be like, no, you don't get to use that. That's wrong. You're wrong. I'm wrong, but I'm the Punisher. You know, I need to wrap him up. I was really happy to see him a couple episodes ago. His performance there, that scene was superb. And I love Bernthal in that role. So yeah, that's beyond that. You could ask Jamie, my girlfriend and co-host of our podcast. I'm terrible at predictions. I'm not even going to try. But I'll tell you, I want Castle to like get some good play with the subject matter that they've introduced.
Every time you mention Jamie, the chat goes crazy. So of course, if you want to hear more Jamie Durack outside of Love in the Time of Hydra and Phase Hero, you can also check out our Severance finale episode that featured Jamie breaking down the Severance season 2 finale with us. Plus, she will absolutely be back for Andor season 2 as well. You know, there's one part with Frank that I like with the Frank related stuff that I did find. I lost my train of thought. I don't remember where I was going with it. Damn. So I guess I'll just throw it to you, Damon. I know you had one more big prediction that you wanted to talk about.
Well, I know I'm hitting like Raffy Devers right now, my prediction font, but I'm going to keep swinging. I'm going to change the barrel of my bat. I'm going to bring out the torpedo bat on this one. You ready? TJ, what was my big theory to start this show? Going in episode 1, what was the big theory?
I don't remember. All I remember is people getting blind spotted.
Oh man, he's been blind spotted by the blind spot.
Exactly. Blind spot. I'm blind to anything else.
My big theory was that Matt was going to kill someone by the end of the series.
Yeah, of course.
In my opinion, in episode 1, because I thought he was going to be on the run. So in order for Fisk to finally get his anti-vigilante law out there, something drastic needs to happen. I think Matt is going to accidentally kill one of the cops. I think he's going to team up with Frank. They're going to have a badass action scene. He's going to lose his train of thought, whether because Heather gets involved, Kirsten gets involved. He has like a foggy flashback. Something happens. He's seeing Bullseye. Oh my God, what if Bullseye kind of gets thrown onto this task force too? Who knows? And he loses his train of thought for a half a second. And he does the unthinkable. And he kills a cop. And then he has to go on the run in season 2.
With, you know, the comic origins of this vigilante task force essentially being the Thunderbolts and Fisk's version of the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And obviously we can't call them that because of the movie coming out. But what are the Thunderbolts? A team of villains and anti-heroes, mostly villains in comics, but anti-heroes a lot of the time in this show or in the movie. I could absolutely see him bringing Bullseye to be a member of the anti-vigilante task force. I could 100% see that being a thing in the future. I think it's more likely Fisk would. We see him utilizing the media for his own means. I think it'd be more likely for him to get framed for murder, and maybe potentially that be when he reveals Matt Murdock's identity as well.
I don't want him to be framed, though. It's very important in that story that he did it. It's very important in that story that he did it. And he has to come to terms with that. And by the end, he puts himself in jail because he would be going against everything that he says. It's so important that he's not framed for something, but he actually did it.
I still feel like he has that guilt of I actually did it because I tried to do it to Bullseye, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
A concern I have with that would be, does that lead to another season Matt playing the "I got to put it away" game. You know what I mean? Would that end up feeling a little bit repetitive of what we've got at the beginning of this season, where he's fighting to get back and he knows he needs to, but he doesn't want to, and then we get the "fuck it" line, which was
so good,
perfect. That moment was kind of him getting back, and obviously now we're 2-3 episodes in a row. Would that situation lead to just another 3 to 4 episodes of Matt dealing with this again? And I'm not saying that can't work, but you know that's definitely a uphill battle if it goes there. I feel like,
especially considering that season 3 was so much like I don't have I'm not who I was anymore, and I don't have the suit, and yeah, to do that again would be interesting. But I don't know. Maybe Murdoch needs to get recruited by somebody and go kicking on a team. You know, not like that.
He needs to go defend someone. Is what you're saying?
That's what I'm
a
saying.
Group of people who defend people.
I will say this. I was
going to say, I will say this real quick.
Okay.
To go into like the whole, we've seen that before. That's a lot of Daredevil comics.
Sure.
Yeah, that just Daredevil is mad brooding and fucking.
That's a lot of all comics. I'm not saying, like, obviously in comics it plays, but like when they're building this show, I just wonder if that's the long term. We talked about earlier, have a plan. Now they have a full off season with this crew.
Oh, for sure. And sometimes he tries something new, just like the current run. Matt is currently an exorcist.
Oh, that's fun.
It's different.
That's fun. But to your end, sometimes a fastball works. And then, you just keep throwing it.
Sometimes.
Caitlin asked in chat if we think any defenders are going to show up into season 2. And, Damon, we've talked about how the character of Cherry feels a little, if not out of place, but like, why is this dude even here? When, like, that could have been Jessica Jones as a PI, or that could have been, my choice was Brett Mahoney. Brett Mahoney, I would have loved to have him kind of retire, be off the force. He's the main cop they work with through the 3 seasons of Daredevil.
The mom of the
yeah. Okay.
Off the force and have him be their PI. I could absolutely see this being the case where, one, speaking of aspects of this stitched together, I thought there was some dialogue or some story missing when Matt was like, there was a point where you were on the force that you asked me to come help with this stuff. Right. Did the police have a fucking Daredevil signal? Like, I want to know more about that. When was he helping them take people down working with them?
Episode 1.
Hey, yeah. he could see a Daredevil signal, brother.
Just wouldn't happen. I mean, audio that only Matt can hear. Because it's
that would be nuts.
Something like that.
A horn.
There was more there, but I think
all the dogs start screaming in New York.
They ring a bell.
I think there are 2 really good, clear paths for defenders to be brought in to a season 2 of Daredevil. 1, Jessica Jones replaces Cherry as the investigator for Matt's firm. 2, Luke Cage is the next person running for mayor against Wilson Fisk, because there is the Luke Cage running for mayor of New York comic runs as well.
So I didn't know that.
I feel like the 2 most likely routes for us to get some defenders in here. Damon, we gotta get out of here. It's getting late on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. You and Matt are over there on the East Coast. I gotta get up early for this. Oh, you're joining me for the Nintendo Direct stream, but it's gonna be extra early for me because it's 7 a.m. our time. 6:45 we're starting.
East Coast time for the win for once.
9 a.m. our Nintendo Direct live stream. You can join us on the East Coast, 6 a.m. on the West Coast. But I want to know from you, any final thoughts that you haven't covered, and what is coming this week on the Comic Corner?
I just thought of this not to counter, but to kind of make into that whole. But wouldn't we have another season of Daredevil being like, I don't want to be Daredevil? Well, that's because you introduce a new Daredevil and you bring back Elektra to put on the suit, because Hell's Kitchen needs a Daredevil. And you get some great moments where everyone in Hell's Kitchen also puts on a little Daredevil helmet, because they're like, yeah, we need Daredevil. And that kind of like shows Matt that it's like, no matter what you do, they still love you. And you get some really cool moments out of that. And I would also just kill to see Elektra back, especially in that Daredevil suit. Please. Oh, man, what a show this has been. I've been really enjoying the show. But make sure you tune in on Thursday for our Comic Corner talk, because if you like Daredevil, and specifically if you like the show, go read Charles Soule's run of Daredevil. And even more exciting, TJ, this Thursday, well, technically tomorrow, because tomorrow is Wednesday, there is a new Charles Soule Daredevil book on the shelves, and it is compared to The Dark Knight.
All right. Very exciting. Make sure you check out the Comic Corner every Thursday as Damon, Fat Thor, and AF break down the latest comics that are on the shelves. Like I mentioned, this Wednesday morning, we will be doing our Nintendo Direct live stream. On Friday, we'll be doing our CinemaCon recap. And of course, all of these shows will be available wherever you get your podcasts as well. In 2 weeks, every Tuesday, we'll be doing live shows for Andor. Sorry, 3 weeks. We'll be doing live shows for Andor every Tuesday. In 2 weeks, we'll be doing live shows for The Last of Us Season 2 every Monday. And we got some really fun interviews coming as well. We got some stuff in the works with some of the creators for Thunderbolts. We got stuff in the works with some of the cast for Andor. So stay tuned. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on some of our great content we got coming. Matt Remke.
Yes, sir.
Where can people find the Direct podcast? Where can they find you on socials? And what do you guys got coming up on the pod?
Yeah, man. As you know, the Direct podcast is coming up on 5 years of everything you need to know about the universes you love. That has been a sixth of my life, which is crazy. And it's really exciting that we, for the first time this week, launched our first avenue to bonus content. We launched the Direct podcast Patreon page. And this is one of those things that, every single podcast says it's not going to affect our regular show, our Monday news, our reviews. It's not going to affect that at all. This is nothing but bonus content, very manageable tiers for anybody who wants to get involved. The first tier, our cheapest tier, gets you access to our Direct podcast Discord page, where we will just be chatting, giving out hot takes, and arguing with each other a lot, which is really fun. And that's always a good time. And also in higher tiers, a bonus draft every single month, a monthly mailbag episode where we answer questions about what's going on in the universes you love, and a lot more stuff. We're really excited about it. For the first time for the Direct podcast, we have bonus content in some way, shape, or form, and we're really excited to finally be able to bring that. So I know Agents of Fandom, that's a community, that's a whole brotherhood right there of just nerds coming together talking about this stuff, and we want to create something similar to that. And we want to have you guys along. So please, anybody who listens to these shows and also listens to the Direct podcast, check out our Patreon page, see if there's anything there for you. And also, we're going to have a monthly bonus draft. And this week, and they're not all movie drafts, TJ. They're not all just universes you love. This month, we had our SNL draft, where we drafted our best SNL rosters. Next week, fast food. We tackle the hot topics. We're going to get there and find out what everybody's favorite fast food is. We're talking sports uniforms. We're talking the best parts of summer. We're talking the best songs of summer. A lot of fun stuff over there. We're really excited to be able to start doing that. So if anybody is interested, please go check out the Direct podcast, anywhere podcasts are found, but also check out the Direct podcast Patreon page that launched this week.
In addition to checking out the Direct pod, make sure you're checking out that Direct Patreon as well. It sounds like a lot of fun. I love a good draft. One of the best parts of the Direct podcast is you get to find me on there every once in a while, pop in and say hello. Speaking of podcasts where I pop in and say hello and appear every now and then, I love to brag about my first appearance on Love in the Time of Hydra. Came just 2 weeks separated from Clark Gregg appearing on Love in the Time of Hydra. And so it's like, they thought, hey, let's get TJ this week. Let's get Clark Gregg the next week. Same conversation, Yeah. Tony, tell the people about Love in the Time of Hydra, because it's kind of Jamie, as we all know, Jamie is absolutely incredible at hosting a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we know she loves Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but this is a kind of an especially fun one for you. And I'm wondering if you could tell us why.
Yeah, so first of all, Mr. Clark Gregg upset Jamie very much today by posting on his Instagram a picture of Agent Coulson and saying, "Who's ready?" And Jamie woke up, saw it, forgot what day it is, lost her mind, and then had her heart broken, I think all in the span of about 6 seconds. She was very upset and told him as much, and he said, "Sorry." So, Jamie and I host We host a podcast called Love in the Time of Hydra. It's an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 10th anniversary podcast. We're watching every episode of the show on its 10th anniversary. Jamie's favorite show. She loves this show. I'm seeing it for the first time. So if you are a big fan of the show, or if you're like me and you've never seen it, our podcast is meant to be a companion to it. So you should watch it, and you should listen to Jamie and I. You can find us at LittoPod, LITTOH pod. On Instagram, and then it's everywhere that you can get your podcasts. It's on Blue Sky. I think we're kind of like phasing out Twitter. She's in charge of that. I can't do any. By the way, I can't do anything regarding the show. Like, I can't participate in the production of it because then I get spoiled. And the whole thing is me going in blind, not knowing anything. So we're like late into season 2, and like guests are waiting on bated breath for me to figure shit out that I'm supposed to know already. Apparently, I don't know. So this is the pod. It's very fun.
Sounds awful for you. Like that's stressful. That's very stressful.
Have to be careful.
Check out Love in the Time of Hydra. Listen to Tony, listen to Jamie, and the wonderful guests they have on the show. It's an absolute blast, and they're live every Sunday. That's correct.
We're live every Sunday. We're about to go to Japan, though, so we're going to have some pre-records. But we're usually always live on Sundays at 1 o'clock Pacific time.
Make sure you check out Love in the Time of Hydra. Check out the direct podcast as well as the Patreon. And make sure you subscribe to the Agents Fandom wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us in the live chat today. You guys were absolutely fantastic. Thanks to everyone joining us after the fact. Make sure you hit the like button. And we will see you later this week for more shows. On behalf of myself, Damon, Matt, and Tony, we'll see you next time, everybody. Peace.
Thank you.